if it's good?
That's good.
That's good. Okay. So we started last class, and this is as far as we got with your images. Now, I want for you to notice, I don't know if you can see it, but with the charcoal, I have these lines here that the charcoal didn't fill in. Have you ever drawn really hard on the paper and then you try to color over top and you can see the marks that you've made? That will happen with the charcoal tool too. That's why it's important for you to draw lightly. Now, that might not bother you, but for some people, it does bother them, okay? But just know that that happens if you're doing this. If it bothers you too much, you can switch to pencil, because a graphite pencil, which is your regular number 2 pencil, or a drawing pencil will cover those marks up, right? And remember, for your blenders, for options, you have Q-tips, you have your hand, you have a tissue, whatever works for you for blending. The charcoal that I gave y'all, and I think almost everybody in this class has their supplies, but this charcoal is professional grade charcoal, which means it's soft and it's very, very dark. If you compared a piece of black, like chalkboard chalk, with this charcoal, you would notice the chalkboard chalk is going to look more gray, and this is going to be your true dark. For that reason, you want to put everything down lightly, and you want to kind of give yourself a little bit of grace. If when you're looking at your picture, you're like, I can't get that true white. I'm having a hard time making sure that these grays look a little bit different here. Just give yourself a little bit of grace with this part. The other reason is because the white chalk that you have is chalk. It's not artist white charcoal, and there's a difference between the two. So this isn't going to be as true of a white, and I'm only saying that because I don't want for you to get frustrated. And remember, the way that I made it a little bit more white is I broke it, because when you break it, now not art chalk or art white charcoal, but like chalk for a chalkboard, it has this coating on it, and when you break it, it gets the inside of the chalk so that you can use it a little bit better. All right, and that's just your review. So now we're going to start to lay in our values. Last class we got the sphere, and most of you got your cast shadow. If the viewpoint has changed, or the image has changed just a little bit from one class to the next, it's okay. Go with what you see now. Don't try to redraw or reposition. Just fill in the values that you see here. Right? Now, is everybody still good on being able to hear me? I hope so. Okay. Now, for here, remember, I'm looking. I have my value scale. I have my ratios. And I look at my image and I see my hand here, which is what I'm going to start on next. And I see, okay, so this is white. That's my highlights. Okay, so that's a good point. So someone said, I think I'm going to start mine over. You know what? I am too. So I'm going to finish this in class today, and then I'm going to do another one too. That's also why I'm giving you to Monday to get this done, so that if you practice and do this in class, then you can, and you don't like it, you can start another one. No, you do not have to use the charcoal. Someone just asked if they had to. No, you can definitely use graphite or which is pencil, right? Yeah, it is gonna look like a kind of like an odd angle, and like an odd little object. You're right, Kaylin. So if I look, I match this area up with here, and that tells me that you can't, that's how I'm going to color it in. So that means I would do 3 layers of white and 1 layer of black in that area, and that's the purpose of that. All right, so every time the charcoal, If you are getting frustrated with the charcoal, remember you can stop with the charcoal, or instead of putting the black down first, you can start with the white. If you want to warm it up, because I had somebody ask, how can I warm this up? You can do this. Yes, it does. You can do this by adding color. So I have my sphere, and I'll do this part because I can see a lot of people are drawing on their own, which is excellent. That's what I want to see. But you will see that there is a color or a tone. You can do this with color pencils if you want, right? The material doesn't matter to me as much as making sure you have your value in. So someone said they noticed that there's like an orange tint to the cast shadow and the shadows in here, and you're right, that is there. That's way beyond what I was going to get into, and I'm very impressed and pleased that y'all have started to notice that. You can add, this is a chalk pastel, so it will allow me to layer with the charcoal. But remember, the black is overpowering, so you just get this hint of color. Do you see how I'm just getting that hint of the color? I hope you can see that in the camera. Let's see. Remember when we were in class, can you see that? Yeah. When we were in class, I will tell you that I never used just a plain black. I always mix like a blue or a purple into my black to make it darker. In this case, you could mix an orange, but I do think putting that in there. If you can't see the shadow, like someone just said they can't see the shadow of the hand, then you don't draw it. You draw what you see. So if you don't see it there, then you leave it out. Okay? It looks scary. Well, I hope not. Remember, this is also practice here to get your values. Next week, I'm going to show you, look at how much prettier. That just looks so much better. Next week, I'm going to show you how to do the value and the technique we've done today, but how to use it to make reflective objects and realistic objects. Like my example is right here. Sorry, this was on the other side. This is what we're going to be doing next week to show you, just to get you prepared. Can you see that? What? Maybe I'll just do it this way. Here. Okay. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's showing a reflective object, glass and water, just by using the techniques that I'm showing you today. We'll be doing marbles because marbles are a great way to start. Now, did I answer everybody's questions? I think I had a lot of questions that popped through. Yes, of course, you can use color for the ball. You can use color for this. In fact, I will do this one right here and I'll do it in color. The techniques that I'm gonna do would work for color pencils. They'd work for crayons. They'd work for a regular pencil, and I'm going to use the chalk pastels. Remember, I said this was an option for y'all if y'all wanted to bring them. If you want a set of pastels, send me a message, and I'll put some at the front office or wrap it up in bubble wrap and put it in the mail for you. So this little stone right here, it's white and blue in color, but its value, I see that strong highlight there. This is my medium tones, my medium grays here, and there's my dark shadow. And because y'all had mentioned seeing the color in the shadow, I'm gonna make my color blue. if you feel confident enough and you want to change in your value making skills and you want to change the color, you can. Like if you wanted this rock to be hot pink, it's your choice. So I'm going to put this here as my cast shadow. I put the blue down to give that color, and then I put that in. Did someone have a question? Oh, someone's in the waiting room.
Sphere, I saw not in the like shadow that it casts, but in like actually the darker side of the sphere, I kind of saw a dark red color on that.
Yes. Yes. So add that in. That's exactly what you would do. That is right. So if you have markers, as long as they blend well, that's fine. I will say that alcohol-based markers blend very, very well. Crayola markers don't blend well at all. But if you want it to be more stylized, not realistic, where you just fill in the values with solid color, I will accept that if you're more comfortable with that. So I'm adding in, even though I'm using blue, I'm adding in the color, the value that I see. That's the dark value, so I'm adding the dark value here. And I'm thinking about my layerings. If you're using color on your grayscale, on your value scale, the only thing that would change is the white ratio would stay the same, but instead of black, it would be whatever color it is. Okay, so if I was going to do blue, instead of black here, it would be 4 layers of blue and 0. Yes, alcohol-based markers will blend beautifully. They're like the Copics, the Chameleons are really blend well. I have a set that I got from Amazon for, whoops, don't mind me, my drawer just fell off. I got this set from Amazon. I don't know if you can see it. And it wasn't very expensive, and they work great. I use them in my art. And they blend. They even come with this. That's called a blender. If you're using Crayola and you want to blend with Crayola, you can also use just a paintbrush with a little bit of water on it. Yeah, it's a really good set. I got, my daughters have some too. In fact, they all have their own set, so they'll leave mine alone. They're notorious for taking my supplies, which is fine. They're my daughters. They can do what they'd like. I let y'all use my stuff too. All right, so here's my sphere. My stone. Can y'all see how just by filling in those values right there, I have my highlights, Yeah, Kaylin, it might be the same thing, the same type of markers. I have this here, my cast shadow, right? And then that makes that piece down. Remember, you see all of these pieces that are like blowing around. I have my masking here to kind of cover the rest of my drawing, and it's preventing my hand from getting so full of chalk. Okay, so Samantha, you didn't see it on the homepage. I have received some from some students in this class. Samantha, try. It's in an announcement. You should have received an announcement this morning, and then if you check, did you click on the calendar to see when you click on the calendar it has a link? I'll check it out after class. But I received a notification that it went through at 8 this morning. Was anybody in here able to find that link? Oh, okay, good, Samantha. Let me see.
It's on my screen.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, that looks great. Are those crayons or oil pastels?
Well, I was actually using colored pencils because I thought they would go good with the graphite pencils.
Oh, yes. Yes. Now I see it. I think you're blurring your background, so when you hold up your picture, it kind of blurs it. The stone that you drew right there looks fantastic. It really pops. That's good. It looks good, David. So now I'm going to switch to this part of the hand, my hand here. And I'm going to add in, I'm going to go back to my charcoal, but remember, you don't have to. I'm going to do my cast shadow here to make it nice and dark. And I know I've said it, but just to repeat, I will post this picture and this video, and you will have until Monday to complete this if you want to use a different material. So I have my black value, and then I'm going to smooth it because remember, it's very, very dark. I don't want it to overpower everything. Then I have right here on my hands, I have this really, I'm trying to look, I think my viewpoint's a little bit different than y'all's, my angle. I see this gray value, and I look at my chart, and I'm like, okay, so that value is right there, which means I'm going to do 3 layers of black and 1 layer of white. And that kind of helps me lay it out. And then I have this dark here. Remember to add your value to apply your material in the direction that it goes. That is still true for this. Do you see the difference between chalk and a white? So this, see how bright that is? That is an artist pencil. I mean an artist pastel. And this is the chalk. Can you see how much darker that looks? And that's lighter. That you might have, if you're just using the chalk and the charcoal, you might have a lot more grays and not as many whites, and that's going to be fine for this assignment. Is there anybody else that would like to share with me what they have so far on their image?
Mine's not very good. I'm trying to do color, and I'm also trying to add shadows with charcoal, and it's not working because I have no clue what I'm doing.
Well, hold that back up a little bit more because I can tell you. So your hand looks great from what I see. From your sphere that you've added in right there on the edge, this red or red-orange and your cast shadow is perfect. This part of your sphere here that you've started, remember to put your color down in that curved pattern. If you change that right now, instead of going at a diagonal like this, if you change it more to curved, your whole sphere is going to pop. And that's going to make the difference right there. But this part of the hands, the way that you have this cast shadow here on that part of the hand, that looks really good. Looks really good. So from what I can tell from the picture, you're on the right track. Change this part of that sphere, which I know is what you're working on now. Does that help you, or are you still?
Well, the problem is with my computer camera, I'm kind of scared that it looks different than it does in real life.
Okay.
It most likely does.
Right.
I feel like it looks really bad, but
You can take a picture of it too. So I didn't know if y'all knew this. I have a lot of 8th graders that do this. They will take a picture and then they will send it to me. If you don't want to put it in the whole chat, they'll just send an individual picture to me in the chat and I can see it. It comes up during class. Do you know how to do that? If you click on my name and just send me a message. And then I can pull it up and I might be able to see it better if you would like me to do that.
understand the shadows of the image I'm trying to draw keep changing.
Do they keep? They keep changing on your computer or on the camera that you see?
I'm seeing the image of the hand that I'm basing my drawing off of. I guess it's just like the light maybe changing from the windows or something.
You know, it could be changing from my windows, but I bet it's from my hand from me working, because my light is up here. And so see how I put my hand here? It's kind of going over it. Do you think that's what it is, David? See, like my hand's putting here. I'll try to back my hand up a little. I'll see if that works better. I do have this whole wall to the right of the still life is all glass. It's 2 huge sliding glass doors. But I don't think, I have so many trees, I think it's more my hand that's changing the value. Presley, did you figure that out on how to send that to me in the chat, or did you want to stay a little after class again?
I can stay after class because I don't think maybe it doesn't work my device.
Okay.
I'm clicking the noise mixes and below the minute takes me now.
Okay. It might be different for me since I'm the presenter. I'm trying to think. You know what? He was on most of the students that send me messages, they've been on an iPad. Let me see. All right, so I'm gonna let y'all were probably ahead of me, but I'm gonna let this rest and see if I can do this. All right. It always takes just a moment for my chat to appear on my laptop. Okay. Let's see. Like, there we go. I'm trying to... What? Who just said? What'd you say, Savannah?
I said I restarted mine, so I haven't started the shading.
That's okay. If you restarted yours, you can use chalk with charcoal. Yes, you can. If you restarted yours, then that is fine. That's why I'm giving you that extra time. Let's see. So I put... There we go. Okay, so what I did in the chat, Presley, is I typed your name. Did you just get something from me individually?
I don't think so.
Sometimes there's like a little bit of a delay. See if you got, I hope, it just says test. That's all it says. It just says test. And I put at Presley, but I think that it might have just gone to everybody. Okay, but can everybody else see it? Yes, okay. Yeah, everybody else can see it too. All right, so Presley, I'll play with that after class, and if you can stay a little bit after, I'll look at what you've got, okay? But from what I glanced at and looked at, it looks like you're on the right path. So what I'm doing is I'm still looking at my values that I see, and I'm starting to add a little bit of details. Like there's this curve here that has the strong highlight, and if I come in and I add that strong highlight there, and remember, every highlight has a shadow. So there's a highlight there, and then there's a shadow there, because it all balances. And that's something that you'll need to remember for class next week, is when I'm saying every highlight has a shadow. That's so important when you're doing those reflective pieces. And I think my hand position is a little different than y'all's. and it starts to form this hand. Next week, when we're working, you can pick the material that you're comfortable with. The one that I showed you on my example of the glass, that was done in pen and, yeah, that was done in pen. I used black and white ink pen. So think of the material that you have that you're the most comfortable using and have that ready for class on Monday so that you'll be ready to do those reflective pieces. That also tends to go faster, so we will start and finish that in one class period. On Monday, we're going to do the reflective. I'm going to show you how to draw a glass marble and how to make it look like it is realistic and it shines. And then we should finish that. If we do, Wednesday, I will show you how to do bubbles. And then we'll start our project, our final project for this unit. Okay. So I'm looking at, I'm like, okay, there's this strong highlight here. So I'm going to come in and put this strong highlight here and blend it. I look and I see, okay, that's that light gray color there. So that means I'm going to have 3 layers of white and only 1 of black to put it in. And you can use even graphite with charcoal. So we can even use graphite with charcoal. I have here like this line detail. I can come in with my pencil. Now, I don't know if you see that, but it goes right over top of that charcoal okay. So if you're blending materials, that is an option too. But keeping it, I'm adding that color at that direction. Oops, I lost my nail. Add that back in. There we go. I hope y'all can see this. The other thing to note about charcoal too is just the material itself. It's not going to be crisp and clean like color pencils are or alcohol-based markers. Charcoal is messy. It's chalk. It bleeds everywhere. It gets dust everywhere. So your edges are going to be fuzzy and a little uneven, and that's okay. That's just the nature of the material. So if you don't like that kind of process where you can see the materials and the application of the color, then you might not like charcoal. You might prefer something a little bit more precise, like color pencils or alcohol-based markers. Okay. Charcoal does come off of clothes. It normally washes out with just cold water, and you could put a little bit of stain stick or something on it, but I had charcoal all over me last class and it came off of everything. If you have it on a surface and you can't really get it off, Windex is a great material that gets it. So does liquid dish detergents. That works too. I'm gonna add a little bit of color right here to that value. And somebody asked, what is our next unit? What do we start and when do we start it? So the answer to that is our next unit depends on if we stay virtual or if we move to in-person learning. So I have a couple options, and if you have something specific that you would like to learn, then please go ahead and tell me. Share that with me. But otherwise, I'm going to wait until the board votes on September 24th on our next stage. If we are still virtual and on the computer, we will do something with portraiture. If we are still virtual for second quarter, then I am going to make painting kits for everybody in 7th grade with a canvas panel, and you can come to the school and pick them up. That's a little harder for me to mail, but I'm still happy to do it. It'd probably be easier for me to drop it off at your house. Yes, I have digital art on my list, and I have 8th graders that are doing all of their assignments in digital art. All of their sketches, this work that they're doing on their iPad or on their tablet and turning them in digitally. But yes, I would like to do some digital art. All right. Now, I don't know, I'm hoping you can see. And I'm going to do Inktober too. Yes, so those of you that had me last year, we do Inktober in October for the whole month, and I'm going to do it again. That makes me so happy to hear that you're going to do it with your family. That's exciting.
I actually bought ink for Inktober this year because I'm super excited about it.
Yes, I love it. And that's why I tried to do the March Art Madness last year, kind of like the Inktober. So you got the actual Inktober, like the kit?
I did not get the kit because I couldn't find it.
Okay.
But I bought, I think it's called like Windsor and...
Oh, you bought the real ink. That is some really nice ink. And it could last you a really, really long time. That's some good stuff.
Yeah, I spent all of my money on art supplies for Inktober and markers and stuff.
Yes, it's not really a confession, but I spend all my money on art supplies too. Yes. Now, I have added in my values, I have started to add in, like, this area looks a little flat right here, and I'm like, this looks weird. But when I look back at this object, I see, okay, so there's that value there that I forgot to add in here. And when I add that in, I'm like, oh, look, now that's starting to look more three-dimensional. I see this right here, this harsh kind of white highlight value that I missed there. But remember, because I have that there, look, I've got the highlight there and I have the shadow there. I am excited about Inktober this year, like always. Okay. Now, as you can see, maybe you can't, I'm going to consider my drawing done. And I know that might be a challenge for some of you because you're used to things being like precise, to having those crisp, clear edges. But remember, this is just the nature of the charcoal for it to be like this, fuzzy on the edges and kind of a messy. If you, like on your work surface, if you've been blowing the chalk out, that's fine. If that's a problem, remember you can take it and go like this over the trash can and see all that dust, all that chalk dust that comes up. It kind of keeps your surface a little bit cleaner. I will say that charcoal tends to have a lot of dust, but the chalk pastels doesn't create nearly as much dust as a charcoal. Okay, this creates a lot less dust, right? And yes, Procreate, to answer your question, yes, when we do digital, things like Procreate would work really, really well. So here is, you can see it's kind of fuzzy, it's kind of messy on the edges, but you get this overall feeling of the sphere and of my pebble there. Which, again, this hand and the pebble were in the self-portrait, the All About Me Vantas assignment that I did this week, if you look at that. Now my background. you as the artist choose. Some artists, when they do a charcoal background, they leave like an edge, like a silhouette kind of around the edges here. I think it's called a vignette. And then they kind of blend in their colors. They leave it white. For me, I see that my background here is gray. Wait, there it goes. My background here is gray. So I'm gonna look and match that value up. And I see that there. And I'm gonna add in that value to my background. If you do that, that will clean those edges up some, so that hopefully you might be a little happier with it. I'm also going to sneak in a little bit of color here and there just to add a little bit more interest and to weight it down. It is at an odd perspective because you're not looking at it this way, like front. You're looking at it from above. So it kind of looks a little bit like that. Right? Now, before I start to release you to go for the day, I will post, you have the picture in your Canvas page, and you have the sphere assignments. If you need anything else, please let me know. This is done in class time. It's due by Monday. And next class period, bring a material of your choice and we're going to do the marbles. If you don't have a question, it was great working with you today. You can be dismissed. Have a great weekend. Don't forget to submit your work. If you do have a question,